Most of us, sadly enough, because of our pasts, we operate, and I won't get into that today, but we operate on our subconscious minds, or some people call our unconscious minds, which is actually our memory bank. And our memory bank is what stores our past memories and our past experiences. And sadly enough, whenever we do a task, or we are asked to do a task, we always go back to our memory banks and we think, can we do this? And we always act inappropriately. We need to be conscious of that, very, very conscious of that. So I'll give you an example. So when I joined the bank and when I went from India there, many people said, oh, you don't have London experience. So you cannot start at this high level, you've got to start right down the chain. I felt I was as good as anybody in that bank, but I was told, no, you don't have London experience, so you've got to start right there. So initially, for the first year, I was asked, can you bring us a bottle of water? Could you hold my coat? Many people would say, I'm coming from a very dark place, and I've risen up the ranks in Bank of America here, and now I come to London, and they're treating me so badly out there, right? But the key is to remember that they aren't treating you badly out there. The key is, as Maya Angelou said, I can be changed by my circumstances, but I refuse to be reduced by them. You should refuse to be reduced by anything that happens to you. Again, it's the power of choice, right? You can choose whether your boss is trying to, or your teachers are trying to make you feel, low down the ladder, or you can choose to say, like I chose to say, I thought, hold on a second, these guys have Harvard degrees, these guys have Oxford degrees, these guys have degrees from Princeton. So what if they ask me to get borrowers? So what if they ask me to go hand their coats because I'm a new starter? I'll do anything to learn from them. Anything. The best school in the world is at the feet of your teachers. Trust me. And as you go up the ranks, from anyone who's actually more educated, and as Warren Buffett said, associate yourself with bigger and better people, and you will automatically drift in that direction. I always remember that, and I always do that. You can ask me to do anything. If somebody gave me a breath and asked me to have a straw, I do it right now. Honestly, I would do it because I am just so touched to be in the presence of such great teachers. Most of them know me much more than me. So we think we know it all, we absolutely don't. And that's the mentality to adopt, because your attitude always defines your attitude in life. The attitude that you adopt today will always define how far you go in life. It's very important to remember that. Do not ever feel that you're bigger and better than someone else, because then you become complacent. And if any of you do not know what complacency means, I'm called ever so often to huge corporates. Last Tuesday I was called to speak to a huge corporate of 150 senior managers on, guess what? Complacency. Complacency. Why? Leadership complacency, because they all feel we've taken the job, we've taken the promotion, we don't really need to know anything else. We are really good now. We can teach people a thing or two. When you take yourself to be too great and you think you know too much, that's the time you fall. Pride has a downfall. If you cut the pride, remember who you are and remember that you have to keep learning, and you can learn from anyone at any point in time. Your attitude will change the course of your attitude. Right? Everyone asks me on all the media channels, Cheryl, how did you do all this? How did you get to where you are? And I always think of another quote, by William Barclay. He said, endurance is not just the ability to bear a hard thing, but to turn it into glory. What does that mean? It means, irrespective of what you've gone through in your past, we sometimes have this problem of saying, this happened to me, that's why I can't progress. That happened to me, and that's why I can't do this. You know, my dad did this to me, my mom did this to me, my teacher did that to me when I was small. I like to call it what I read in a great book one day. It's called an illness called excusitis. Excusitis is actually a way of trying your best not to progress. Not to progress. We fall into our comfort zones, and I wish I could get into all that neurology thing right now, but I'm not going to bore you. But truthfully, neurologically, we fall into what we normal people call our comfort zones. And when we're in that zone, we do not wish to get out of it. We want to stay there, and we really feel great to be there, because man goes towards pleasure right away from pain. And you don't need to know much more than that today, but because of that, most of us make excuses. Most of us. They'll tell you don't have money, and they'll tell you were born into very poverty-stricken conditions. And I've been through a lot, and I've been to clients who've actually had worse lives than me, truthfully. But I always ask them the question, great, you have had a difficult life. I understand that, trust me, I come from the same background, but the question is, what are you going to do about it? The truth is, if you get up in the seat right now and you walk to the British Museum, you will see two human brains in a solution called phenolin, which is a solution in which there's all human brains in the British Museum. If you look and if you sit down by those jars of phenolin, you will see that both the brains, even if you sat there for 10 years, you would never be able to differentiate the difference between those two human brains. Why? Because God has truly created us in His own image, every inch of the way. Richard Branson, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Warren Buffett, Amitabh Bachchan, Shah Rukh Khan, all of them and us, we have the same brain. The difference is, how do we choose to use it? Do we need to use it just a little? Or can we use it to its max? You always have the power of choice. Always have the power of choice. The key is, how badly do you want to succeed? Why is it that such a few of us succeed? Why is it that such a few of us make that effort to succeed?